Let's ride bikes.
Last fall, I was honored to get a call from Haro Bikes. Yes, the same Haro Bikes we all remember from our childhood years of AFI, Pennywise, the Misfits, and riding BMX. I hope you got a moment to watch the last video I made all about Haro's new aggressive aluminum hardtail, the Saguaro. That was a great bike, and far less pokey than its namesake. But one of the more key pieces of info I wanted to communicate there was simply that Haro is back. The family that owns Haro, yes, the same family that bought it from its founder, Bob Haro, is committed to re-entering the high-end mountain bike space, and the launch of this new daily is a big part of that plan. Back with another new bike, this time from our friends over at Haro. Before I open this, I do want to say this video is sponsored by Haro. Technically, that means this video is an ad, so I just want to disclose that out of the gate. I am sponsored by one company, that's Shimano. Ooh, look at that. Check this out. Yeah. Oh, poppin'. It looks so good. I gotta say, this bike is absolutely stunning in the flesh. It's incredible. I miss the days of bikes like this. This is one of my favorite looking bikes of 2024. I forget what year we're in. This bike looks so distinct. It looks so good. Raw polish, a little bit of brush. Oh, it looks sweet. When you hear the name Daily, you might think Daily Driver, which is a name well befit a 140mm travel, 29-inch wheeled trail bike. But Haro is located in Vista, California, down by San Diego, and a popular riding spot is Daily Ranch Park. This is where I show you beautiful B-roll of riding Daily Ranch, but, well, I've never actually ridden Daily Ranch. I have ridden nearby Greer Ranch, which is the namesake of the bigger sibling to the Daily, the Greer. The Greer also recently launched, and it features more travel, more aggressive geometry, and all sizes are more mullet. Haro gave me the choice as to which bike I wanted to try, and I found myself riding the mid-travel trail bikes most often this year, so I opted for the Daily. So what is the Daily? It's an all-around, solidly built aluminum trail bike. In sizes medium, large, and extra large, it rolls on proper 29-inch wheels front and back. The bike has a standard 64.5-degree head-tube angle, and the seat angle is a legit Baldwin Street at 78 degrees. The chainstay length is more canoe than surfboard at 445mm, and these are the longest stays I've ridden on a non-e-bike in a few years. The medium wheelbase is somewhat lengthy at 1237, but the reach is perfectly within my sweet spot at 460. The size large is a 485 reach, and the XL is a 510. Some of you here will be stoked to hear this. Size small is almost a completely different bike, catering to those of you that have a solid BMX background. Size small uses 27.5 wheels, both front and rear, and has a somewhat short for the wheels 428 chainstay. With a 430 reach, I think the size small will be an awesome bike for many smaller humans. Back to my size medium Daily here. And yes, I'm 5'8" or 174 centimeters. Well, on this raw bike, the attention to detail is absolutely jaw-dropping. The raw brushed finish is stunning. This thing looks incredible. The brushed aluminum silver, it looks so BMX 1998, 2002, right in that vintage, and I love it. Okay, I'm gonna get the handlebars on and then some pedals, and we'll do all the things that we like to do. Typically, a brushed finish is somewhat dull, but Haro has done something here that preserves a lot of that brush-style texture, but at the same time, keeps it absolutely shiny. Media does not do this bike justice. The aluminum absolutely sparkles proudly in the light, flaunting its identity as a full-figured trail brawler. To be frank, this is the most beautiful finish I've ever seen on a mountain bike. I did not expect the custom-formed chainstay, which would have Senor Guzman proud with the intricate tunnel network for the shift and brake lines. There is a massive chain slap protector and some well-thought-out cable routing for the seat post. The rocker link is formed to precisely fit the seat stay, all with some clever detailing. While carbon gets so much hype, the visuals of the Daily break from the mold in a really, really cool way. It does not look like the Ramadana style of finish, and instead it glimmers and shimmers like the coins in a pirate's treasure chest. I'm riding the Daily Alloy Limited 2, and the build on this raw version is really, really good. The Fox Grip X fork is the best version I've felt yet, with fantastic small bump compliance. The fork also has a substantial high-speed circuit that provides a really big safety net. The travel is set to 150mm. The rear shock is a Float X. The Shimano XT drivetrain is my personal favorite, and even comes stock with 165mm XT cranks. DT Swiss 1900 wheels are strong and reliable, and stock braking is handled by TRP Trail Evo 4 piston units on a 203mm rotor set. On my personal bikes, I do run Shimano brakes and will swap this bike over when I have a moment.
The C-Post is a KS Rage at 170 millimeters of travel for this size medium bike. But before any swaps are made, for the first few rides, I left it as stock as I could to get a proper feel. After my very first ride, I did make a couple of quick swaps. First up, and most noticeably, I did go to some different handlebars. The stock aluminum Raceface Chester bars are pretty low, and they're also stiffer than my hamstrings after a long ride in the rain. I use this as an opportunity to go up to the much taller 40mm Rise carbon Salsa guide bars. Not only did this get a bunch more weight on the rear wheel, but these bars are also noticeably more compliant in the bumps than the aluminum ones.
Stock Raceface bars are pretty nice. Nothing wrong with them, I just want them to be taller. Just a sizing thing.
Next up, the DT Swiss rear hub came with only 18 points of engagement. This is not a big deal, but I did swap for a random 36-tooth ring I had on the workbench. This was a great upgrade. 54-tooth rings are widely available, and that'd be even better, but this 36-tooth, once again, was just sitting on the workbench. Finally, the Vittoria tires are really good in the dry, but they do have a harder rubber durometer. This is fine for the dry terrain in California, but up here in our primordial slime we call a trail, some softer compound tires do offer more grip on wet routes. I installed Maxxis Double Down Max Grip tires. This frame was actually a pre-production prototype, and Haro told me they would need to swap it out for a regular production frame. I'll be juggling the swap soon, so do expect to see a longer-term review video that uses a different colored frame. I only had about a week with this bike, and while I've been riding it a lot, it's not been enough for a full-fledged review, so stay tuned for a proper follow-up. For now, I will say that the bike rides very similar to how it looks. It's ready to smash the trail with industrial strength, traction, and confidence. The rear suspension is amazingly plush at the top of the stroke. I will say this is the plushest bike of the year. The pedaling isn't as efficient as a DW or VPP bike, and being aluminum, it's also not a light bike. The Daily is not trying to be the lightest rig ever, and instead focuses more on durability, a stout feel, and some mannerisms that encourage all the rowdy behavior only a former BMXer would ever understand. I was able to enjoy some 3-hour-long trail rides, some funky jib lines on my favorite local loops, and with the higher bars, I'm finding myself pulling some really fun, really challenging manual lines that I can't do on bikes with shorter stays.
This little manual line here, a little bit of a doozy. So the deal with this bike, it's kind of a longer back end. What that ends up feeling like on the trail is that it's more effort to get the front end up and onto the rear wheel. But once you are on the rear wheel, you kind of have a get out of jail free card. Once you do get balancing, you can just charge through a lot. In general, I found this bike to jump off little bumps and stuff pretty good. Similar to the bikes that are more small. Usually it's the smaller bikes that do better, but I think between the taller handlebars, the really well set up rear suspension, it just works out nicely.
Let's regroup soon for a full review of the Daily. Huge thanks to Haro for sponsoring this video and to all of you for joining me. If this is your first time here, please do me a solid, scroll down and punch that subscribe button. All right, everyone, peace and wheelies.